Okay, so welcome everyone. It's really lovely to have you here tonight for our second Freshers Week on meditation, or Refreshers Week if you want to go over some of the practices again. So it's really lovely to be here tonight and be joined by Alex and also by Jack on tech. And it would be really good to see who's around online too. So please do a shout out in the chat box. And we can give you a hello later. And the class tonight is in two parts. We've got our lead part here, which will be until 8:30, and then it will be followed after a 15-minute break by a Zoom call. And that really gives an opportunity to talk about the practices more and think about what the talks covered. So I really would encourage you to join that. And we'll put a link in the chat box later so that you can just go straight onto that after the call. And for those of you who could tune in last week, we covered the mindfulness of breathing, or Siddhika, one of the other teachers did. And this class tonight covers the complementary teaching, the Metta Bhavana practice, which is the other core practice in our movement. So we'll have lots of time to practice today, and we'll also talk a bit about ways into the meditation and have chance for discussion and answering questions too. So, please do make comments in the chat and ask anything you like, and we will do our best to address that later. Okay, so I'll hand over to Alex now. He's going to do a practice to help arrive.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this cold and gloomy Monday evening. After cycling here, a thought crossed my mind, just kind of how cold and dark the evening is. And I was wondering what will bring kind of more colors and flavors into this evening. And the only thing that came to my mind is just metta and love, because looking around, people are in kind of, very difficult situations and going a lot of difficulties in their lives. And yes, the thing that we can bring to the world this evening, I thought, something we could do for our community is just bringing some metta and love. And that can come only from our practice, from who we are and how we treat each other and how we are with each other. So on that note, I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to find a comfortable position, whatever it is for you, sitting on your cushion or just kind of laying down on your sofa. Just find a kind of comfortable position, and we'll use this a 5 minutes just to kind of ground ourselves, feel our bodies, and I will try to bring some kind of metta into our this little kind of body scan experience. Let's see how this would go. So if you feel kind of comfortable, close your eyes. Hopefully you have already found a nice and comfortable position. And let's just kind of bring all our awareness to the weight of our body, just kind of wherever we are sitting, on a cushion or a sofa. Let's feel the weight of our body on our cushions or a sofa, on a chair. No need to think about it, just feel it. Feel the weight of your body. Perhaps also feel the gravity of the earth holding us wherever we are, and feel a few second sensations around this. What do you feel? What are the sensations? Let's slowly move our awareness to our toes, to our feet, and have this gentle awareness of our feet, our toes. And I invite you to bring some kindness to your experience. Just be grateful to your feet, to your toes or carrying you all day, regardless of being outside or inside, just holding us on the ground, carrying us from place to place. Let's bring that kind of kindness into our experience. Filling our body with kindness, with gratitude. Softly moving our awareness to our upper legs, our legs, to our glutes. So let's keep that flavor of kindness into our experience. Let's cocoon our experience with kindness and self-love. Just be okay with any feeling, any sensation that comes up. Let's extend our awareness to our tummy, abdominal, and just see what you can find here, what kind of sensations you can find here. Whatever sensations they are, let's keep our kindness towards this experience. Let's feel our hands, wherever they are they touching your feet or holding each other. Just feel your hands. What sensations can you find there? Can we be grateful to our hands for helping us in our lives, cooking, washing, writing and typing? So let's bring this kindness and gratitude to our hands and feel them. Just feel your hands. How many times do we think our hands? Let's just be grateful to our hands. And slowly let's leave awareness of our hands and move to our arms. To our chest, heart area. What can we feel here? Again, let's see if we can find some warm sensations or any sensation. Wrap up this experience with some love and kindness if you can, if possible. Moving to our face. Perhaps relax your face, your cheeks, relax your forehead, top of your head. What can we feel here? Let's be aware of our shoulders, neck. Perhaps we can relax our shoulders. Can we find any experience here? Any sensation here? Moving to our back, upper back, lower back. And now let's just feel entire body, if possible, with our breath. Let's make this breath kind breath, being grateful to our entire body, however it is. Just a few more breaths. with elements of gratefulness and kindness to ourselves, to our bodies. And if you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes. Thank you very much for joining us on this small meditation. Let's see who we have today with us. We have Tom. Hi, Tom. Sending us good wishes. We have Linda Bisley. Hi, Linda. We have Jill. We have Peter Hall. We have Manjidara. Hello, Manjidara. Walton. Pamela. Hi, Walton.
That's Pam.
That's Pam.
Oh, it's Pam. Oh. Hi, Pam. Sorry. We have Cameron. We have Adam. Hi, Adam. We have Cloud. Have I missed anyone?
That's Daisy.
Oh, that's Daisy. They're coded names. I think I mentioned everyone.
Did you mention Susanna and Cheryl?
Oh no, Susanna. Yeah, hi Susanna and hi Cheryl. Hi everyone. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the lovely practice. So I really appreciate that. Okay, so we wanted to say just a bit about the practice we're focusing tonight, the Metta Bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness. And I know that some of you on the line are quite experienced meditators, so I hope that there'll be something here for everybody, because personally I find it really helpful to go over these practices again and just come to it with fresh eyes and things. So whether it's your first time here or whether you're very seasoned here, then it's a really good opportunity for us to explore this together. And I think Pam's leading the Zoom call afterwards, in which there's a chance to go into it in more depth. So last week, as we said, was looking at the mindfulness of breathing practice. The main object of that is to cultivate mindfulness, to become more aware, particularly of the breathing, which is what we're focusing on. And this is very much paired with the Metta Bhavana practice, where the focus is on developing like more positive emotion. And the practices really feed in more into each other. So you may find it helpful to alternate them or to at least do both regularly. But I think certainly most people I've met seem to warm more to one of them and find it easier, and so the challenge can be then finding ways to engage with the other practice. And I suppose I wanted to start off saying that because for me the Metta Bhavana was the practice I really struggled with and felt that I had to keep on coming back to and finding ways to engage with. So yeah, what I'm offering tonight is perhaps some ideas that I found helpful in being able to engage in the practice, and it would be nice to discuss that more and perhaps to think about that more in the Zoom call as well. So what is the Metta Bhavana? And it comes from like Pali, so Bhavana means to develop or cultivate. And Metta is quite a complicated word. So it's often translated in our tradition as loving kindness. But there's no direct translation. And in fact, it's really serendipitous because at the moment our Wednesday night classes are looking at Metta. So there's a whole series looking more at this and looking at the Buddhist teachings around Metta. And Amma Puspa gave a brilliant talk last week about looking at what does Metta mean. And what she was saying is that, you know, there's a few different words we can use to describe it. So we can simply say like kindness, or it's about love, or it's about cultivating a really warm, friendly emotion towards ourselves and to other people too. And it's really important, we find, to really work on this. So even in mindfulness, where we're focusing on awareness, the awareness that we're cultivating isn't this cold clinical awareness. It is a warm, kindly awareness, and you know that. And sometimes that can come naturally for lots of us, certainly myself, you know, that didn't come that naturally. And the Metta Bhavana is a practice in which we can specifically focus on that, not just in relation to ourselves, but also in relation to other people. And it's one of the oldest practices in Buddhism that there is. It's essentially been existing in the same form for about 2,500 years. And the traditional form, which we'll do tonight, is that the practice is in like 5 separate stages, and it sort of helps us like practice this quality of like kindness towards like people who are in different relationships with the goal that what we're really trying to do is to sort of cultivate the same warm positive emotion to everybody equally, unconditionally, which is quite a big ask really, which is why we need to practice it, I think. And so you would start off with, you know, metta towards ourselves, which just in the Buddhist time was meant to be the easiest like sort of stage really, that metta for ourselves would arise naturally, and then that could be the basis then which would apply it to other people. But in some cultures, we find certainly that the one which you know I've grown up in, I think sometimes metta towards ourselves can be more tricky really, and we may not be in that good relationship with ourselves. So that can be like a piece of work in itself. And so like the second stage, in which we then move on to where we think about a good friend, sometimes that might, you know, be easier to generate too. And perhaps that's something we can come back to in the discussion about ways around that if the first stage is quite difficult. So first stage is for the self, second stage is for a good friend, and these are ways in which we can practice like metta, where it comes quite easily, where there might be already a positive emotion. Like if we think of our good friend, we might naturally feel like sort of quite warm and kindly towards them. And then we have the opportunity then in the third stage to practice like sort of like metta for somebody who we don't know at all. We have quite neutral feelings. So for an acquaintance or a stranger, so somebody who's kind of in the background of our lives, we might see at the train station, we might see in the shop, we might not even know their name. They're just somebody who is in our lives but who we don't know anything about, so we haven't got any positive or negative feelings for really. And sometimes the challenge of that stage, I find, can be keeping our interest up and finding ways to, you know, keep on engaging, even though we don't have a strong pull in either direction for them. The fourth stage then is to look at, you know, how we cultivate kindness for somebody we find quite difficult. And the traditional term is like the enemy, but I think that's quite a bold, dramatic term. But, you know, it could be somebody, I mean, I'm always embarrassed at how many people are vying for contention for my difficult phase. Like people who, you know, we're a bit irritated by, or we've had a bit of a disagreement with, or, you know, somebody we have a bit of a reaction to at the moment. And the challenge of that stage then, what we're trying to do is to, you know, sort of hold all of that and to, you know, cultivate kindness towards them and wish them well. And then from that we move on to the fifth stage, in which we like sort of broaden it out to everybody then, people we know and people we don't know, people who may be human, and including all living beings. And so we start off with the 4 people from the earlier phases of the practice, and you know, again, the aspiration is that we hold them equally in metta. You know, the same, like you can think about it perhaps as the sun bathing everybody equally in light, and then just letting that radiate outwards then. So we take more and more people, whether it's people like, you know, we've met in our day, or people who come to mind, or another traditional teaching was just to let your metta extend in all directions. You can imagine it just broadening out, and that's the final stage of the practice. And so what can be helpful, I think, to think about is just like, you know, different ways to come into that. and different ways to express the metta. And there's really like lots of different ways. So we'll be talking about a couple of ideas today, but I'd really, encourage you to be as creative as possible, really. So today we'll be using like phrases, like quite traditional phrases to wish somebody well. But again, you can just like use an image. You can imagine like light shining into people. You can imagine breathing with kindness and, including the other person in that. And, there's lots of different ways to engage with these practices. And I sometimes find it helpful to try and find a way into it, really, so that, ways for preparing for the practice. So I thought I'd share a couple of those today. And the first is really, I suppose, just what helped me come into it with this aspiration, because of course, in my practice, I'd really like to like sort of feel like this sort of like love or kindness equally for everybody. But I automatically find, I suppose, as most people do, that I'm drawn more to like metta for my good friend. I find it more challenging, like to generate the same metta for the difficult person or somebody I don't know. And it's like, how can I approach the practice? How can we approach the practice to sort of help with that? I sometimes find myself, when I'm doing the practice, almost getting into an argument in my head about, like, well, does somebody really deserve the metta and everything, particularly the difficult person? And, as if it's something that I've only got a certain amount to sort of portion out and everything, which isn't that helpful. And I think something which is really helpful for me, I think, is just this idea of common humanity. And so I'll say a bit more about it, but it's often a reflection I'll do, like either at the beginning of the practice or at the beginning of the different stages. And it's just to help me feel connected with everyone, to remind myself of that. And so this reflection is based on us all, even though we've had different experiences in some way, we're in different conditions, but at some level we're all interconnected. As human beings, we all share like a large degree of commonality in our biological makeup, in our conditions, in our basic like values and desires. And it can be really helpful just to call those desires to mind. And so ways in which you might do that is just to think about really what motivates all of us, and to think really that all of us at some level, what we want really is to be happy. We might not go the right ways around it, but that's our basic desire. And as best we might try, at times we're not happy. None of us are happy at times. And and at the same time, none of us want to suffer. It's something which we're all like hugely motivated biologically and psychologically to avoid. And yet again, try as we might, suffering comes upon us, and there's nothing we can do about it. And sometimes thinking about it, when we're thinking of the people who we're calling to mind in the 5 stages, it can be, I find it really helpful just to really call those basic reflections to mind, and it really helps me open up to that person as a person, and see them as somebody with like similar like sort of desires as I have, and somebody who has similar struggles to me too, and that can be a way in which we can remind ourselves that actually we are in this difficult business of being human together, and that can really help break down the barriers. And I think part of the reason why I like really find this helpful is that I'm really reminded of a time where I had a really strong experience of this. It was quite a few years ago, and I was having a health scare, and I had to go and have a scan. And at the same time, I hadn't been looking after myself very well, and so I'd ignored this problem for quite a while. So when it was flagged up that it could be a problem, I was in this real state of self-criticism, that and catastrophizing and thinking this is completely my fault. And even though lots of people from our community actually were really supportive towards me at that time, I still felt quite alone and felt quite critical. And then I remember being in the waiting room of the hospital when I was going for my scan, and there's quite a wait. and just really being struck. I was looking around me to try and like be mindful, to sort of distract myself, to try and refocus and ground myself from my own worries. And I was just suddenly just really struck by all the same people who were in like this sort of waiting room, like waiting for the scan. And just like everybody looked different. So some people were a lot older than me, some people were younger, some people looked like they'd come from work, some people had children. So all these people in obviously very different situations, and yet we were all there for the same reason. And I found that experience, I just had this moment where I was just sitting there and I just found that so freeing, really. It sort of really took me out of myself and my own worries and my own self-blame. And I just had this really strong sense of connection with all these different people here. And I kind of even remember thinking, well, whatever happens to me, that this is going to be all right. It's like, you know, there's this shared experience with all these other people, and there's some sense that, you know, I felt that solidarity, even though I didn't know them, I'd never speak to them. And I just really held on to that, really. And I was reminded of that recently, like with COVID too, and just thinking about like how part of the difficulty of this situation, I think, is that it hasn't naturally promoted in some respects like a sort of sense of common solidarity. There's been moments of it, but the very nature of it, which I'm certainly aware of when I'm out and about, is that like rather than like reflecting on like our shared experiences, where even though we have got, it is affecting us differently, a lot of the things around being like perhaps more isolated or more lonely or having our regular routines disrupted have affected all of us. But yet at the same, so you know, when we're out and about, we could be really seeing people as like fellow human beings and having that sense of empathy and connection. But at the same time, the nature of what we're going through at the moment is that often these people, certainly to me, sometimes seem like a risk, you know, and that, you know, I'll be out and about, and if somebody's too close, rather than thinking like, oh great, that's somebody I can say hello to, it's like, oh, are they too close? Are they a risk? Am I a risk to them? And you know, lots of judgment sometimes coming up for me at any rate, if I think people are like, as part of the difficulty I think sometimes is around the lack of certainty on what we should be doing. And so I certainly have to check myself in like not being judgmental and everything if I think that people are following the rules, and just noticing how quick I am sometimes to come to that conclusion, whether if it was somebody I know, a friend of mine, I'd probably be a lot more willing to think, oh, I wonder what's going on for them. Perhaps they don't know the rules, or perhaps they've got special circumstances. So I think like one of the things which I've been trying to do is just really think about like how I can like put more metta into practice when I am out and about, and thinking about this common humanity, and trying to regard everybody equally, and not like sort of being so quick to jump to conclusions and things. And certainly over the last couple of weeks I've been trying to focus on that more in my practice when I'm out and on the tube, and I think it has been making a difference really, and that, you know, I have been feeling less cut off for people, and it's kind of transformed my like sort of difficult commuting to work at the moment, and is making me like again feel a bit more connected. So yeah, I suppose part of what I like about these practices is that they really do have powerful effects, and even when you're sitting on the cushion it might not feel like it's making any difference. I do notice these subtle effects then in how it affects how I approach the day and the sort of attitude I take into things, and yeah, it sort of makes me open up to people a bit. So yeah, so my suggestion then for us doing the practice tonight is that it might be helpful just to think upon this sort of issue of us being interconnected and of common humanity, and I'll introduce a couple of phrases into that, and yeah, and it's something we can come back to in the discussion. I'd be really interested for those who do the practice already, what like ways in you find helpful, and yeah, that can be something be good for us to discuss as well, Alex. Okay, so I'd suggest setting ourselves up for practice again. So finding a posture which helps us feel uplifted, but also open to can be really helpful in Metta Bhavana practices to connect to the heart area. And so perhaps when setting up our posture, trying to have an openness in our chest, a sense of ease at the front of our body. So letting our shoulders roll down and back, tucking our chin in a bit, and just spending a couple of moments arriving. So just tuning in to the sensations of contact with the floor, the chair or cushion. Tuning back in after Alex's practice into the bodily sensations and our feelings of kindness and appreciation for what our bodies do for us. And noticing our facial expression too. Seeing if we can soften the muscles around the eyes. Our eyes might be closed if we're comfortable to have them closed, but imagining our gaze behind our eyelids is soft and unfocused. And softening the muscles around the mouth too. Perhaps softening our mouths into a smile if that feels comfortable for us. And that can really help us engage with our positive emotions. And bringing awareness to the heart area. So the area in the centre of our chest where we associate the heart with being. And imagining the breath flowing in and out of that area. Sensing the rise and fall of the breath in the heart area. And noticing any other subtle sensations in the heart area. Whatever we notice, noticing that with kindness, accepting our experience. Just tuning into any emotional responses there, recognising that that's where we're starting off from tonight. As you breathe in and out of the heart area, just calling yourself to mind. Reflecting that you, like other human beings, have this wish to be happy. And as hard as you might try, at times you aren't happy. It's something that eludes you. Reflecting too that, like other human beings, you want not to suffer. But at times suffering does come to you. Noticing any responses that come to that. And as best you can, open into those. Breathing into them. and wishing yourself well. Saying to yourself words like, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at ease. Whatever phrases express to you kindness towards yourself. And as you wish yourself well, noticing the tone of your mental voice, and as best you can, adopting a warm and kindly tone, I should say to a good friend. So may you be well, may you be happy, saying those phrases to yourself. And just noticing any response you have to that. And breathing in and out with it. And recognising that that's okay. Doesn't matter what we feel. We're just practicing the intention to be kind to ourselves and others. And coming back to an awareness of the heart area and of the breath moving in and out of it. Just imagining the breath imbued with kindness. And calling to mind a good friend, someone in our lives who we regard positively. We don't have any complications in our relationship with, who's quite easy for us to bring to mind in a kindly way. Perhaps imagining them sitting alongside us or in front of us. Noticing how you feel to call them to mind. And reflecting that they, like us, like all other human beings, have this wish to be happy that's not always met. And this wish to avoid suffering that they can't avoid. Suffering at times does come to them. And opening your heart to them as best you can and wishing them well. So in a warm and kindly tone, imagining yourself saying to them, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at ease. And just sitting and breathing and noticing any ripples of response in your heart area. So call into mind the phrases of well-wishing, of metta, and then just noticing the response. Letting the words permeate through your experience. Bringing the attention back to the breathing. Breathing in and out of the heart area. And call into mind now somebody who you don't have a strong emotional connection with. So a stranger or an acquaintance. Somebody who's in the backdrop of your everyday life, but who you don't know. You might not be able to picture them or imagine them clearly, but just have a sense. Just have a sense of them and imagine them being there. And even though you don't know anything much about them, you can be sure that they're human beings like us with similar hopes and desires, wanting to be happy, not able to be happy all the time, and really wanting not to suffer, yet finding at times they do suffer. So connecting to that wish as best you can. And wishing them well, extending your metta towards them. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be at ease. Alternating between saying the phrases to the neutral person and then just sitting with them. Letting the effects radiate through your experience. And if you find that your mind has wandered off, you've become distracted by thoughts or feelings or sounds, and that's absolutely fine. Just coming back again to the phrases for the neutral person. Now coming back for a moment to connecting again with the breath. Breathing in and out of the heart area. Call into mind now someone who, in some respect, you find difficult, or you've had a difficulty with. For the purposes of the practice, it can be best to avoid somebody who you've had any really major difficulties or have caused you hurt, or you have a really strong response. Or perhaps allow your attention to alight on somebody who you've had a bit of tension with or a bit of upset in your day-to-day experience, and calling them to mind. And just noticing first of all the effect of calling them to mind. Noticing perhaps if there's any tension in the body. And if there is, then just breathing in and out with that. Extending metta to yourself. Calling to mind somebody you find difficult. Wishing yourself well with the state of the practice. And reflecting as best you can that this person, no matter what the nature of the difficulty is also a human being connected to us, who like us has this deep, heartfelt wish to be happy, and yet can't be happy all the time. And who, like us, has this deep, heartfelt wish to avoid suffering. And yet this is a wish that can't be achieved, that they will experience suffering. And noticing our responses to that. And as best we can, extending metta towards them, wishing them well. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be at ease. Breathing in and out, noticing the effect of the words. If we notice ourselves getting caught up in strong emotions or thoughts that take us away from wishing well, and just extending kindness to ourselves in that moment of difficulty, and simply coming back to the practice, coming back to breathing in and out, grounding ourselves and our bodies again, neither staying with the focus on the breath or coming back to our intention to wish this person well. And then coming back to the focus of the breath in and out of the heart area. And bringing all four people to mind now that we've been focusing on in the practice. So ourselves, our good friend, the neutral person, the person we find difficult. And imagine our intentions of metta, imagining our well wishes to extend to all of those. Perhaps imagining that metta permeating throughout the space in front of us and equally extending to all these 4 people. Perhaps like how the perfume from incense can pervade through all the air. And now just letting our metta reach further and further in all directions. Just expanding outwards. Taking in whoever else comes into contact with it and including them in this field of metta, this field of kindly awareness. May we all be well. May we all be happy. May we all be at ease. Just imagining the field of metta expanding in all the 4 directions. Further and further, including more and more people. Noticing how this feels. Noticing your response in your heart area. And then for the last couple of moments of the practice, the last couple of minutes, just coming back again to the sensations of sitting. The sensations of the breath flowing in and out of the body. And just sitting with whatever comes up in your awareness. Taking in the effects of the practice. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes if they've been shut and bringing the practice to a close. Okay, so thank you all for practicing that with us. Before I ask Alex what his thoughts are on metta, are there any questions that have come up in the chat so far?
Nothing so far, but I'll let you know.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was really, really good. I actually was able to really sink into my meditation. What I was actually thinking that it's a bit kind of like strange, but the connection that you were talking about at the beginning of meditation, it seems that kind of this crisis that we are in now actually epitomizes the connection between us. And if the virus can spread so quickly, so the love can spread so quickly as well, you know. So kind of like, you know, seeing that kind of like, you know, that it is possible for a thing like, you know, in this case, the virus spreading so quickly. Thousands of people are getting kind of like unwell every day. So if we send love in the same way, you know.
Well, that's a lovely antidote, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thinking of all the fear around the contagion and actually thinking of kindness of Metta being contagious too, and how we can spread this.
Yeah.
It's a counterbalance.
Exactly. I was doing my meditation today. I was like saying, let's spread kind of this kindness and love, you know, and we know that it works, doesn't it? Like if we kind of like we meditate and we know that it works, you know, we know that, you know, if you are kind of like if you have difficult situation, a relationship with someone, and you meditate on that, you send love and kindness to that person, the relationship improves, you know. I've tried it so many times, always works, always. And in the same way, if it works, if we send the metta and love to people, I mean, this is a great antidote.
And I think it is, because I think sometimes if I've been practicing Metta Bhavana in the morning, then I am in the space where I'm more likely to like smile at somebody on the train, and then I think, well, if I can exchange that and they smile back, then that makes me feel a bit better. And then I think, well, I'm more likely then to go on and feel a bit better about my day, and maybe they are, and maybe they'll smile at someone else too. And it kind of can spread, isn't it? It's these like small acts of kindness or of taking somebody in that we can all do. And you know, I believe as well that does have an effect.
Yeah. You have to tell NHS what kind of like the antidote is. Forget about the vaccine.
Vaccine and love.
Vaccine. Yeah, or vaccine of love. vaccine of metta. That's a new kind of approach.
Are there any questions?
No questions. Lots of thank yous, and Jill says thank you both. Tom says very good and nicely led. Thank you. Linda says really well led. Very true observation, Alex. And Pam says thank you. Lovely meditation.
Oh, that's lovely.
What Joel says about me,
Linda said very true observation.
Yes, exactly. Spot on. The vaccine of love. And so before I pass over to Alex for like some the final section, we just would encourage you really to go to the Zoom afterwards, so to reflect on this more. So as we said, everyone's got different approaches they find helpful, different ways of doing the practice. And it can be good to discuss those. And a couple of questions that we'd invite you that might be helpful just to like sort of help like get started with the discussions around. Firstly, what was your experience of the different stages of the Metta Bhavana practice? You know, were some stages easier to connect to than others? And then secondly, reflecting on common humanity is one way of developing metta that we've offered tonight, but what other ways do you think can help with this? So yeah, those are two things that we thought might be helpful to discuss more.
Interesting questions. Thank you. And I have actually two announcements as well. I guess the theme of today is two. The first announcement is that from next Tuesday, there is a very interesting, I think, but interesting doesn't really kind of define this course. It's very kind of like a full-on course, which is actually called Life with Full Attention. I have done course before. I've done it 2 times. I've done first with Metta Bhavana, with the actual kind of writer of the book, and the second time I was on the team helping the team. I was part of the team. So the course is very good. It really kind of helps you to appreciate the life. Really helps you to fully kind of live your life, and more kind of would come up as you kind of go on day by day kind of and do all the activities of the course. Anyway, the course starts from next Tuesday. It's led by two wonderful order members, Amal Dana and I'm a Pushpa, and there is no actual fee for the course. You can start, and is on donation, and you can donate as much as you can. There will be a suggested donation, I guess. And the second course, the second one is not a course, it's actually a retreat, which is on this weekend. Starts from a Friday. It's a Brixton retreat. So if you like to join us on that retreat, I'll be on the retreat as well. So everyone here will be on that retreat. So please come and join us on that retreat. It's a wonderful opportunity. Although kind of this time it's going to be online, but again, still it's a good opportunity to just kind of gather online and share some experiences and meditate together and listen interesting Dharma talks. And I think there'll be a puja as well, do some small ritual. So these are the two announcements in terms of the courses, and my last kind of it's not an announcement, but it's a rolling call for donations. And we are a small kind of charity. We survive on your donations. And as you know, these are very difficult times. We don't have classes here. Normally we'd have lots of people here, 20, 30 people, and they will generously help us to put all these courses and evenings for you. So please consider donating £5 or £10, or if you can more, then by all means, please give more for this evening, for us to be able to put more of these evenings in place. Myself and Lisa are kind of volunteering here. We don't get paid. So whatever you donate is just going to go on to supporting class like this, candles, flowers, just kind of rent the place and spread the love and spread the kind of metta. So that's all your money would go to. So please do consider helping us by your wonderful and helpful donations. So I think that's all from us for today. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed the meditation because we really enjoyed having you, though we can't see you. But yes, thank you from the team, from Jack, from me, from Lisa, and have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. And we see you next week. Thank you.